Hello YouTube, this is Comeback Kid Gaming here, and I've got a very unique video for you guys. If you did read the video text, you will know that this is going to be a Dark Magician deck profile. Now, just a preface, I have had this deck because I did an opening of the Legendary Dragon decks, which I put on here, and I've done several other openings for YouTube. So hopefully this will get a little bit of popularity. I know, as you can see in front of me, I have the top card that has Dark Magician, Chocolate Magician Girl. Excuse me. I'm gonna change this around because I'm gonna actually go through the multiples first, and then I'll get to the singles and whatnot, and the reason for them. So. That. So, I have been very busy. I am currently almost done with my college semester. I only have my math class, which I finished this Thursday. And I have only one more class, which is going to be Anatomy and Physiology for paramedics. And then I will be done for this semester. I'll be able to create more content for you. Hopefully I can get YouTube working on my Xbox One X as well. So, as I said, this is going to be a Dark Magician deck profile. I'm going to try and make this as quick and as painless as possible. Also, I'm going to try and throw in a little bit of detail with how everything is going to kind of work and kind of collapse and rely on each other within this deck, because that's really what Dark Magicians are all about. It's not just about getting a 3K beat stick and just, smack until somebody's dead. No, this is very much more unique and, I guess, complex as well. It's a bit more no, it's not as complex, because I feel like Noble Knights are probably a little bit more, probably one of the most complex decks. Everything else is basically, like spirals and whatnot, are going to be, banish, special summon, special summon, and all this other stuff, which is relatively simple. So I guess I would consider it probably like an intermediate deck. It's very, very easy to forget how things work within this deck, but all you have to do is read the card, and then you remember. So I'm going to go through the monsters, then I'll go through the spells, and then I'll go through the traps. I'll address the extra deck as well as the side deck that I currently have. I have not tested this out yet, but, because there is a but, as of right now, I will be testing this out probably tomorrow. I do have a counselor's meeting, but I should be able to have enough time to test it out. So, without further ado, I'll go ahead and bring this wonderful Dark Magician deck profile to you. So, of course, we have the most obvious card that you're going to want to play as a 3 of, which is going to be Dark Magician. As you can see, I have 3 different art types, which are my personal favorite art types. Let's see, get all 3 of me. So you have the Gold Pack one, the Secret Rare version, which is from the Megatins that you can see in the background, as well as the Red Arcana version of Dark Magician. So those are my favorite 3 artworks. Obviously, Dark Magician is going to be the one thing that you probably want to run 3 of. You might be able to get away with running 2, but just to be safe and to have as many copies of him, I would run 3. It's just the most optimum thing to do, and it's kind of a deck based around Dark Magician, so why wouldn't you have 3 of him? So next up is going to be a double of Magician of Dark Illusion. This is going to be a target for, really, it can only be a target for Magician's Navigation. Or is it Magician Navigation? I think it's Magician Navigation. And unfortunately, it can't be targeted by the first effect. So pretty much if you have this card in your hand, you can't special summon it with Magician Navigation. unfortunately. But that's why you have Dark Magician here for. Hence why he's the main staple card. These Magicians of Dark Illusion are only treated as Dark Magician while they are on the field. So, if they're not on the field, or which means if they're in your hand or in the graveyard, these technically cannot be targeted by Magician Navigation. So, while unfortunate that is, it is also fairly balanced. However, this can be targeted by Magician Navigation's second effect, which is to special summon it from the deck, or because of how Magician Navigation works, if you were to activate it on your opponent's turn, special summoning a Dark Magician from your hand, and another level 7 or lower Dark Spellcaster type monster, I believe it says, from your deck, you had one copy of Dark Illusion in your hand, as the effect resolves from Magician Navigation, because you activate it during your opponent's turn, you could actually take this and special summon it. Because of that. So, and it would be due to Magician of Dark Illusion's first effect, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, it would be due to his initial effect. So during your opponent's turn, if you activate a spell or trap or effect, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand. So right there. Boom. So that's 3 potential level 7 monsters that you could have in one turn, also during your opponent's turn. So pretty much what would happen is you could drop Dark Magician from your hand. Okay. You could probably grab like a second one from your deck if you want to. Or if you really want to like mess somebody up, you could just grab something else, which I'll actually end up showing you. But for this sake, we can go double Dark Magician, special summon, illusion, and defense. And then you can go ahead, overlay for one of the level 7 monsters that I have in the extra deck, which I'll be going over later. So, I mean, there's insane combos you can do just with these 2 cards going from your hand. I mean, it's the possibilities are almost endless. So, 3 Dark Magician, 2 Magician of Dark Illusion. Those will be the main Dark Magician type cards. So, as of this, you actually have 5 copies of Dark Magician, technically. Unfortunately, it's only going to be 3 when it's in your hand or in the grave, 5 when they're on the field. So, really, having Dark Magician Girl, not too beneficial. The only beneficial reason would be for targeting a fusion monster in the extra deck. So, I'll get to more situations like that later. So next up we have Triple Magician's Rod. And as you can see, I do have one of them, which is a super rare. Very nice. I actually pulled that from the most recent 10. So the reason for Magician's Rod is obviously getting a spell or trap from your deck that specifically lists Dark Magician its text. And it's, yeah. Okay, and it's text, yeah. So, unfortunately, I don't believe Dark Magician... No, I don't believe that... Yeah. You can't target Eye of Timaeus with this card, which is kind of stupid because Dark Magician is technically in its text, but the ruling was made that you can't target Eye of Timaeus with Magician's Rod. Even though Dark Magician is specifically mentioned in its text, that was the ruling. Doesn't make sense to me. I'm just saying. But so 3 Magician's Rod. It's a free copy of a spell or trap, which lists Dark Magician. It'll help you get to your combos a little bit faster, especially when you run, the max on DMC, which is Dark Magical Circle, or Eternal Soul. You'll get your good stuff faster, you'll get your combos faster, and you'll start banishing stuff on your opponent's side of the field. So, 3 Magician's Rod. It's also, it's still like a card on the field for you, it is a rank 3. If you can find some rank 3 monsters, maybe like I don't know, maybe a Leviathan Dragon, maybe, or you can even go Barian. What is that? Barian. There's a level 3 in here somewhere. I know what it is. It's a Rebarian Shark. You can actually go for, and I know it's just a 2K defense, monster. So, I mean, it's just something to throw out there and have something, and so you don't take damage. So if you do actually happen to have like 2 of these on the field at the same time, you already got their effects off. That's really all you need them there for. So really, other than that, they're not really going to be used for tributes unless you draw like a Palladium Oracle Mahad from your hand, and you're like, well, I can't use this because I already drew it. So, I mean, there's that. So, that'll be it for this card. So on to the next one, which, speaking of that card, is 2 copies of Palladium Oracle Mahad. The reason why I run just 2 copies is because 3 is going to be excessive, and I don't want to see this card first turn. I have only seen this card once first turn, and it was the actual 5th card that I drew, and it's kind of a mess just due to the fact that, like, its effect allows you to special summon it when it's drawn. So when it's drawn is kind of a general term, and it's too general to the point where Konami needs to fix it and say, he can only be special summoned from your hand when he's drawn during your normal draw phase, or they need to specify, like, when you do draw him in your initial hand, like your first 5 starting cards before you decide who goes first, and you see that he's in your hand, can you actually special summon him from your hand? Because I mean that's his effect. Unless there has been a ruling on it, I'm not sure. I haven't seen anything, and I know one of my friends at college was saying, he's not sure about it, but he would let it go. And it's a little bit confusing, like I said, but it would be interesting to see what Konami says, because of how vague his text is with his specific effect. Because, I mean, if he can be special summoned pretty much any time that you draw him, like I said, that's a free. If you draw both of them first turn, you got 2, what was that, 2150? No, 2100. So you got 2 2100 defense monsters right there, and you can actually overlay, grab something from the extra deck. So, I mean, it's it's up to Konami whether they do that or not. It's the same way that they went over and kind of trashed people from maxing out Magician's Rod, which I am considering actually dropping to 2, which I had 2 before, and I wasn't seeing it enough, so that's why I upped it to 3. So we'll see how everything goes here. But yeah, so 2 of Palladium Oracle Mahad. I don't want to see this card first turn too much. I'm also thinking about cutting him back just to 1. This way, if I do see him, then it'll be during a normal draw phase or something or other like that. Also, he is a spellcaster, so he can be targeted by one of my other monsters' effects, which I'll get to you on that once. I'm getting real ahead of myself right now. So, all right, next card, which is going to be a part of the engine that I run with this deck, is going to be also the last multiple of cards. So you got 2 Spellbook Magician of Prophecies. So obviously I'm running a little bit, it's a tiny bit more of an expensive engine for the Magician deck, but it works very well, and I'll tell you why. Due to, I know you're kind of wasting normal summons, but you really don't need normal summons in like the Dark Magician deck. The only other normal thing you'll be normal summoning is just going to be Magician's Rod, which is just to grab a card from your deck and whatnot, just to try and speed things up. But this guy, 2 of this guy actually works very well. I've seen this card so many times first turn, and I start laughing just because of like how much I just love the Spellbook engine with the Magicians. It works out super well, especially with this next card I'm going to actually show you. Chocolate Magician Girl. There she is in all her glory. So, Chocolate Magician Girl's effect is when she's targeted for an attack, you can pretty much pause the attack for a quick second, special summon any spellcaster type monster from your graveyard to the field. Also, if that goes through and resolves, then the monster's attack that targeted her gets halved. So, that is the main reason why Chocolate is in here. As ridiculous as you may think that is, I have run into a couple situations where this card has actually saved my butt. And especially when you're not limited, by special summoning and whatnot, this card will absolutely do wonders. And especially with the second part of that being, that your opponent's monster's attack is halved, and it's halved permanently. It's not just during the end of till the end of the turn. I mean, if we can get this to focus, come on. Focus. There you go. Nope, didn't want to do it. Come on. There it is. So the first effect is actually pretty cool. Especially if you have like 3 Dark Magicians in your hand, I would definitely use her like initial effect just to drop it to the grave, which is super beneficial. You just discard a Dark Magician and you get to draw an extra card. And especially if you have like an Eternal Soul on the field, you can grab him right back. If you have Dark Magical Circle on the field, boom, that's an instant banish. Done. So, first effect is pretty awesome, especially if you're trying to ditch Dark Magicians to the grave. You can get them back a little bit easier. But as I said, once per turn, if this card is targeted for an attack, you can target one spellcaster type monster in your graveyard. Keywords, or key archetype, spellcaster. In your graveyard, except Chocolate Magician Girl. Special summon it, then change the attack target to it, and if you do, the attacking monster's attack becomes half its current attack. So, like I said, it does not specifically say that it is only till the end of the turn, which makes it absolutely beautiful. It's so beautiful, it's not even funny. I would, honestly, if I could run 3 of her in this deck and still have a 40-card deck, I probably would. But it would also be kind of obsessive and also using a little bit too many normal summons. So I'd probably only go with like a double of her. But anyway, Magician of Prophecy, great spellbook engine for this Dark Magician deck. I would think it brings the deck down to, instead of a 40-card deck, it would be about a 34-card. No, yeah, 34-card deck because it's total 6 cards. So, pretty much what happens is if you get Prophecy to your hand, you normal summon him, grab secrets from your deck, activate secrets, that goes to the grave. You get knowledge off of secrets, and then you take secret or knowledge, play it, tribute him off, or if you want, you can actually set knowledge and wait till your opponent's turn. This way you at least have something, to protect yourself if he's still there at the end of the turn. And you can also interrupt your opponent's play at that. You just activate knowledge from, the field there when they attack Prophecy. You tribute him off. It's interrupting the attack. They no longer have an attack target. I mean, you're going to end up taking, whatever damage it is. But I mean, I don't find myself short on life points at all, just from doing that. So 2 of Prophecy, I've been thinking about upping it to 3, but I don't think it is. I see this card well enough. And it's super amazing. Like I said, great spellbook engine for the Dark Magician deck. So, I'm sorry if I'm taking a little bit too long, but I'm trying to make this as detailed as possible for you. So we went over Chocolate Magician Girl. Obviously, she's going to be a great, I guess you could call her like a bait and switch. I guess that would be a good technical term because you're baiting your opponent to attack once you normal summon her. You sift through your graveyard, special summon like a Dark Magician or a Palladium Oracle Mod, which, hence why I said he's a great target because he's a spellcaster. Says it right there. He's a spellcaster, so he can be targeted, and it doesn't specifically say that you can't target it doesn't say you have to specifically target a certain like class of card. So it just says spellcaster type. As long as it's a spellcaster type monster, boom, you get it back. Your opponent's monster's attacking monster is halved. And, most of the time your opponent will end up taking damage from that because even if it is a 4,000 beat stick, you get Dark Magician, they take 500 damage, and that'll be it. Your opponent's monster is gone. So, yeah, that'll be it for Chocolate Magician Girl. Try and move this a little bit quicker now. So that'll be it for the doubles. So we're on to the singles. I do have a Dark Magician Girl. I've been thinking about actually making a Magician Girl deck. It's gonna be a little bit of a troll deck just because of how much it relies on like special summoning other things or discarding other things, you know, from your deck to your grave, also from your hand to your grave. But Dark Magician Girl is really here. She's just here for the extra deck support. Other than that, you know, I have Tamias with Dark Magician Girl, and you got Dark Magician Girl. What is it? The Dragon Knight? Dark Magician Girl, and the Dragon Knight. But yeah, that's all she's really here for. Unfortunately, man, I hate this so much, but you can only get her up to 29 because you can only have 3 Dark Magicians. Unfortunately, like I said before, Magician of Dark Illusion, not treated as a Dark Magician when it's in your hand or on the field, or in the graveyard, sorry. So he's just Magician of Dark Illusion. He can't be targeted for her effect. So unfortunately, like I said, that is really unfortunate because otherwise it'd be you could have like all 5, you know, technically Dark Magicians in your graveyard, and you'd be like 5 times 300 is you know, 1500 extra attack, and she'd be a 3500 beat stick right off the bat. So it would be nice if Konami kind of changed the text on Magician of Dark Illusion, made it so that he's not only treated as a Dark Magician on the field but also on the graveyard, because then it would bring a little bit more viability to, you know, Dark Magician Girl. Maybe people would start to run her a little bit more. And then finally, probably the most expensive card out of this entire deck right now, Apprentice Illusion Magician. If I could run 3 of her, I probably would. She's a great target for Magician Navigation. But also, like, if I could replace like 2 other cards, it'd probably be Chocolate Magician Girl and maybe Dark Magician Girl, or maybe I would like drop Palladium Oracle Mahad to 1, or even just like remove him altogether from this deck just to run 3 of her. Obviously, she's like an honest for your Dark Magicians. If you have like a Dark Magician, you know, you just, you know, attack into like something that is like 4,000 attack or whatnot, or, you know, bam, you drop Illusion Magician, Apprentice Illusion Magician, and bam, you get an extra 2k attack and defense, actually. So if you're being attacked, then you have your Dark Magician, you know, in defense position. It's got 4k attack, and opponent will take the damage for it, but, you know, it's there. So she's, like I said, great target for Dark Magical Circle. No, not Dark Magical Circle. What am I talking about? Magician Navigation. So, alright, that'll be it for the main deck's monsters. So I believe that is 15 monsters right there. That's all I'm running with this current, you know, deck profile. If I can try and get some other stuff, maybe it'll change up a little bit. Try and run less monsters. But so first up, we'll have triple of the one card that makes this deck alive, Dark Magical Circle. So pretty much what Dark Magical Circle does, when you activate it, you excavate 3 cards, the top 3 cards of your deck. Actually, no, it doesn't say excavate. It just says look at the top 3 cards. So you can look at the top 3 cards of your deck. If any of those cards lists Dark Magician in their text, you can grab that 1 card. You can only grab 1 of those cards. Let me just specify that. 1 of those cards. And then the other 2, you pretty much take them, put them back in the whatever order that you would like, which means that you don't have to shuffle your deck. Beautiful. Beautiful. This is such a beautiful continuous spell. And, I mean, to play it at 3, you're going to have so much power just with this guy. Unfortunately, the initial effect when you activate it is only once, you know, upon the activation. So that's why people and myself will also be playing triple of Dark Magical Circle. And plus, the likeliness of it getting destroyed is kind of high, unless you have like your Dark Magician, the Dragon Knight on the field. Then, you know, your opponent can't target back row, and if you have Eternal Soul up, your opponent can't really target anything. They just have to come up with something that's, you know, a 31k beat stick, which is not too easy to do in this meta. So that'll be it for those, and then we'll go into doubles. So the first thing that I have doubled up is going to be Spellbook of Secrets, like I said. And this obviously, like I said, Spellbook Engine is it's such a great engine for this, and also throw in Spellbook of Knowledge here. So, Spellbook of Secrets and Prophecy are kind of like the same card. It's just, this is a spell and Prophecy is a monster. So, you normal summon Prophecy to target any spell card or spellbook card in your deck, and you add it to your hand. So I mean, that's why the combos with this guy, it's just never ending, honestly. Um, so you get Secrets in your hand first turn. You drop Secrets, get Prophecy, normal summon Prophecy, go into your deck, and you search up Knowledge. That's 3 cards down right there. And you can only activate one of these per turn. So if you do end up drawing like 2 of these in a turn, then you just try to set yourself up for the next turn, drop Knowledge, with Prophecy and whatnot. So just you gotta try and draw them cards as fast as possible, because you really, really, really want them Dark Magicians in your hand, so you can either discard them or pretty much do what you like with them, fusion, overlay, whatever you need to do for your current situation. So now the next card I get a lot of shock and awe from. I know a lot of people are like, why do you run Pot of Duality in a Dark Magician deck when it hella relies on, special summoning? And my reason is, if I normal summon and I can only normal summon, what am I supposed to do? Or, I mean, really, I can activate this like main phase 2 and I'll be done for the turn. Special summon whatever I need to in main phase 1, go in my battle phase, attack and whatnot, drop a Pot of Duality, draw, excavate 3 cards, pick 1, shuffle the other 2 in my deck. And also, it's another target for, what's the card called? Dark Magic Inheritance. So it'll be another dead card in the graveyard for me to banish. If I have 2 of them, in the grave already, then that's free Dark Magician spell or trap card going straight from my deck to my hand. And so yeah, I know a lot of people say Pot of Duality is kind of controversial, but I would say that what is it? Oh, what's the card called? I can't remember. It escapes me right now. But there's a different pot that banishes 10 cards from the top of your deck. I would never do that, especially with this being a 40-card deck. No. That's a big no-no. A lot of people will try to run that card, and I'm like, no, that's a bad idea. Why would you do that? Because you're banishing the top 10 cards. You can't get those 10 cards banished back. I mean, there's a couple cards that you could, try and throw in the deck to make them work, just to try and get, if you do like mistakenly banish like all 3 of your Dark Magicians, or some of your support, what are you gonna do? You don't have any way to bring them back, and that's my biggest problem with that card. And that's why Pot of Duality, in my opinion, is better, because you excavate top 3 cards, draw, you take 1 of them, and then you shuffle the other 2. This is a dead card and it's a target, so. That's why I run a double of Pot of Duality. I might drop it to 1 just because I don't want to see it that much, but as of right now, I actually don't see it that much anyway. So next up is going to be a double of Eye of Timaeus. So obviously you already know why I run 2 of this card. I might actually bump it up to 3. See what else I could switch out from. Well, I would actually switch out one of the Pot of Dualities for an extra Eye of Timaeus, and that would give me an extra target, because I do really want to buy a second Dark Magician, the Dragon Knight. So that would also free up an extra spell for me to use. Also, these are another 2 targets for Dark Magic Inheritance. If I do end up, I really do want to try and get a second Dark Magic Inheritance. But yeah, I mean, it's it's another spell target, and this deck is heavily revolved around spells and traps and whatnot. That's why there's only 15 monsters. I mean, there's 20, there's 25 spell and trap cards, and 15 monsters. That's why. So it's just heavily reliant upon spells and traps. So. And obviously, Eye of Timaeus is just to grab, Dark Magician the Dragon Knight, or Dark Magician Girl the Dragon Knight from your extra deck, or even, Amulet Dragon, or Dark Paladin, and I'll go into the reason why for any of those as well later. So, Now to the singles. Dark Magic Inheritance. Obviously, you banish 2 spells from your graveyard, add 1 spell or trap from your deck to your hand that specifically lists Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl in the text. You can only do that except for itself. Pretty obvious why. Because then that's I would consider that maybe a +1. Because I mean, if you're already banishing spells from your graveyard, you're pretty much going for a +1 because they're already dead in the graveyard anyway. So that's really the only time that people banish stuff from, you know, a spell or trap from their graveyard is because it's dead. They can't use it anymore. So that's the reason why it's an extra, you know, way to get Dark Magical Circle or Eternal Soul or even Magician Navigation from your deck to your hand, and it's super fast. So you can set yourself up for the next turn. Dark Magic Attack. Harpy's Feather Duster for Dark Magicians. I think that might be enough said. So yeah, I only run 1 of these. I put a second one in the side deck just for, I can't say really like just for kicks, because I mean, this card has a lot of viability, especially when like a lot of people try to run like back rows and whatnot that are completely defensive. You know, you get on Dark Magician, you drop this down and blow up their, you know, their back row and their field spell as well. If they rely on those types of things, like I know dinos actually rely on was it Jurassic World? I want to say, I don't remember the name of the card, but I know my friend actually plays dinos. So this would actually completely ruin, you know, and foil up his stuff. So that's the reason for Dark Magic Attack. You know. And it can also be targeted by Eternal Soul for when it's activated, upon its second effect, if you activate it. And then the last spell for the deck is going to be Illusion Magic, for obvious reasons. I mean, if you got a Magician Rod on the field, drop Illusion Magic, boom. You tribute him off. He's pretty much a dead card anyway, and you have 3 of them. So, I mean, if you really need, like, to overlay for, like, a level 3, then, I mean, you're pretty desperate. But, like I said, Illusion Magic, you get 2 copies of Dark Magician from your deck to your hand. Perfect. Perfect. Anything to get Dark Magicians to your hand, and then maybe you can send them off, you know, to the graveyard with Chocolate Magician Girl's effect. Boom. Draw a card. I mean, you can literally draw cards for days with this deck, which is absolutely fantastic. So next up and finally we have the trap cards. Let's see what time we're at right now. Oh my gosh, we're at 32 minutes. Alright, I gotta really hurry this up. So first up we have a triple of Eternal Soul. Main trap card. Well, what actually I guess you could consider it like the main trap card of this deck, but yeah, Eternal Soul, pretty much you could special summon a Dark Magician from your hand or your graveyard to the field. Second effect, add 1 pretty much Dark Magician attack or 1,000 knives from your deck to your hand. Its primary effect, though, it protects your monster zone. Negative with this, you really need to be prepared to have either a second Eternal Soul on the field. So if this one of them were to get destroyed, then you gotta you know pop them right after another. So, but the big thing with Eternal Soul is that I kind of have an issue with is that once it's destroyed, you know, you lose your monster field. So, and there's not much really that you can do about it other than activate a second Eternal Soul, grab your stuff back, and, you know, hope and pray for the best. But yeah, this card is heavily reliant on being protected, and that's why I think I will actually buy a Dark Magician, the Dragon Knight, a second one. So this way I'll have either double protection, you know, if somebody does end up getting over it, then, you know, because there's really not that many 3K beat sticks around anymore. But, yeah, so 3 of Eternal Soul for obvious reasons. And then we'll go with the other Dark Magician trap. Triple of Magician Navigation. So this is the main card, 2 effects. The first effect is, like I described earlier, you special summon a Dark Magician from your hand. You can special summon any level 7 or lower spellcaster type that has to be dark monster from your deck, as long as you control. Yeah, so if you control a Dark Magician, except the turn this card was set at the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard. Then target a face-up spell or trap card and it negates it till the end of the turn. So first effect is to kind of load your field up. The second effect is to kind of back your field up. So if you have a Dark Magician on your field, and it's like turn 2 that this has been in the graveyard and whatnot, your opponent activates like a Mirror Force or something, boom, you banish Magician Navigation, negate that until the end of the turn, and it's a dead card, and it goes straight to the grave. Your monsters are fine. Attack continues through because like Mirror Force would be negated and whatnot. Or if it's like Dimensional Barrier or something like that, you negate it to the end of the turn. Is it destroyed? No. So it's just negated to the end of the turn. I can see why people play this at 2, but I'm gonna play it at 3 because I want to get my Dark Magicians out as fast as possible. And I know I'm gonna end up using the card, and maybe someone probably end up negating one of these. So that's the main reason why I would play 3 instead of 2. I know a lot of people would be like, well, you can just play 2. No, I don't want to play 2. I want to play 3 because I know people are gonna try and negate one of them, at least one of them. So that's the reason for that. Next up is going to be the singles. So the first single is going to be Curse of Anubis. Now, the main reason for Curse of Anubis is Dark Magicians are normal type monsters. So I think you guys can put 2 and 2 together. Why Curse of Anubis is actually a really great card for this deck. If you have straight up 3 Dark Magicians on your field, and your opponent's using Spirals or Cyburst, whatever it is, then you have this card to back you up 100%. Because it changes all effect monsters to defense position. Their attacks, or their defense, sorry. Their defenses all get permanently changed to 0. 0. The original defense of those monsters becomes 0. Also, they can't change their battle positions. So the only way to get around the Curse of Anubis is to counter trap it. And I mean, a lot of people don't really, they'll run like one of Solemn Warning, and that would be the only way I think they could get over Curse of Anubis, or like a Dark Bribe even could get over Curse of Anubis. But still, if they don't have anything in their back row, boom, Curse of Anubis. You have some super free room. You have 3 Dark Magicians, and boom, boom, boom. You take care of whatever monsters that are there, and you get to still they still take damage. So that's why I'm running Curse of Anubis. I actually just added that into the deck a few days ago. So next card up, Mirror Force, just in case you run out of options. Obviously, you're not going to have monsters on your field at all times. This I would actually drop on the field if I was running like Prophecy like first turn or something, and I had happened to draw this. So I would drop this card right away. I could tribute off Prophecy with no issue, not even worry about it. If somebody wants to attack, I'll either take the attack, or if they have like a loaded field with like dinos or spirals or something like that, boom, Mirror Force, you're done. And you can figure out what to do the next turn. Then we have a Recall, and I'll actually go over this other card as well. So Recall as well as Solemn Strike. So I really don't want to give up too many life points here, which is actually why I decided today to only keep Solemn Strike at 1. Recall is basically a Solemn Strike. It's just your opponent draws a card instead of you sacrificing 1,500 life points. But it does the same exact thing. I think the text, the text even reads the same. So Solemn Strike says when a monster or monsters would be special summoned or a effect is activated, pay 1,500 life points to get the activation, summon or activation, and if you do, destroy that card. Recall's effect is when your opponent activates a monster effect, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. And then your opponent draws a card. So it's like half of Solemn Strike, and it's for free. So I mean, if you don't mind your opponent's drawing a card, whatever, you're putting them at a +1, but still, the thing is, you're getting whatever monster that could have potentially like wrecked you, like if it was a kaiju or something like that. You remove that off the field, boom, your opponent has like minimal plays left to do and whatnot. So Solemn Strike, Recall, super interchangeable. Maybe I'll see if I can get a second Recall, but yeah, the less life points I have to sacrifice, it means the more damage I can take if I can't get a Dark Magician on the field. So the final one is gonna be Dark Renewal. Super, super important, and also super useful for this deck. So its effect is when your opponent normally special summons a monster or monsters, target one of those monsters and one spellcaster type monster you control. Send both monsters to the graveyard. Then you can special summon one dark spellcaster type monster from your deck or graveyard. So this is really cool. You can get Dark Magician back with this. It does say one dark spellcaster type monster, so you can get pretty much anybody that is dark from your deck if you want to go Apprentice Illusion Magician. You can. There's nothing, there's really no limits with Dark Renewal when you have it on there. So it's just an extra special summon. If you already have Dark Magical Circle on the field, boom, that's another banished card on your opponent's side of the field. So I'll go over the side deck real quick, and then I'll get to the extra deck. So Cosmic Cyclone, for obvious reasons, to banish, face down stuff. Excuse me. And it's not destroyed, it's banished. So boom. If it is face up, it is a quick play, so bang. Can't really do much about it. So a second Solemn Strike, for obvious reasons, just in case I do need to run a second one, I'll drop Recall out, sub in the second Solemn Strike. Second Dark Magic attack, for obvious reasons, just if I need another Harpy's Feathers Duster for Dark Magicians. I do run a Polymerization in the side deck as well, and that is mainly for if I'm gonna face dragons and whatnot, then I'll throw in Buster Bleeder and Dwarf Star Dragon Planeteer for one of the fusion monsters. That's very useful against dragons. I'll actually get to him in a few seconds. So Foolish Burial, that's just if I really need to get some Dark Magicians in the graveyard, I'll actually pop this in the deck and it'll work out. So it's a -1 technically, but I'd consider it like even, especially if I already have Eternal Soul in the field. I can bring it back that same turn. So then a nice Drowning Mirror Force, just in case I know I'm gonna be extra vulnerable or I wanna try and protect myself a little bit more, and I'll send my opponent's monsters back to the deck, and it'll delay him for another turn. And then last but not least, Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer. So obviously if he does damage, then you can banish up to 2 monster cards from their graveyard, and then your opponent can't remove from play cards from either player's graveyard. So as long as he's on the field, your opponent can't banish anything from your graveyard or your opponent's. And he banishes 2 monsters from their graveyard, and when you're banishing stuff, then it's less targets for them to use, especially if it's like Blue Eyes and whatnot. Then they'll start banishing stuff like crazy, or Red Eyes even. You start banishing stuff, and then you start taking burn damage from it. But so finally, before I lose my voice completely at this 43-minute mark, oh my gosh. So we have up first Dark Magician, the Dragon Knight. He protects the back row, so if you have him and Eternal Soul on the field at the same time, they protect each other. Your opponent can't target anything on your field. Amulet Dragon is there for a big old beat stick if you're kind of late in the game and you're just like, you know what, this needs to end now. I have Timaeus, Amulet Dragon, and start banishing spells from both graveyards. If you're playing this deck and you've already run through all but a Dark Magical Circle and whatnot, then you have pretty much 13 spell cards to banish. Or if you've altered the deck in any way, then you've got a pretty good beat stick right here. I mean, this will run over anything pretty much at that point, and then your opponent will be dead. Dark Paladin, great for, well, you can use I have Timaeus with this, so that's a huge, huge, huge situation there. So as a quick effect, you can discard a card, any card, negate the activation of a spell, And also, this card gains 500 attack for each dragon monster on the field and in the graveyard. So, if you're facing dragons, Dark Paladin, you know, he's pretty cool. Gives 500 attack for each dragon type monster on the field or in the graveyard. Doesn't matter if it's on your field or, you know, your opponent's. But pretty useful, especially against Blue Eyes and whatever, you know, other dragons that your opponent might have. Dark Magician Girl, the Dragon Knight. I have won a duel with her just due to her effects. So, I have Timaeus and Dark Magician Girl. I'm like, you know what? He's got nothing in his back row, so I might as well just, you know, go into her, drop a card from, you know, my hand, and just take care of that card that's on the field face up, and just attack for, you know, 2,600. You do that twice, you're at 52. That's literally leaving your opponent with like 800 life points left if, you know, you're playing like 6,000, or if, you know, if you're playing like 8,000 life points, which is, I guess, would be more traditional. For a little bit longer of a match, then it'd be like 1,200. 1,200, 1,600 life points. Sorry, or 1,400. Sorry, I can't do math right now. I can't even think. But they'd be done. You know, just a few life points. You know, one more turn, you can drop whatever it is from your hand. Boom. You know, they're pretty much done. So next, nice secret rare of Buster Blader, the Dragon Destroyer Swordsman. So why do I have this in here? And it is just in case I do face dragons and I really want a beefed up monster. So his effect reads, must be fusion summoned and cannot be special summoned by other ways, which is why I would run a poly with dragon type monster and Buster Blader. This card cannot attack directly, which kind of sucks, but it's alright. This card gains 1,000 attack and defense for each dragon type monster your opponent controls or is in their graveyard. Change all dragon-type monsters your opponent controls to defense position. Also, dragon-type monsters in your opponent's possession cannot activate their effects. If this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage to your opponent. So, right there, that's why I run this card. He gains 1,000 attack and defense for each and every dragon monster on the field or that's in the graveyard. So, just imagine if your opponent is running Blue Eyes and they have 5 dragon-type monsters on their field. That's 5,000 extra attack and defense on this guy. So he's at 7,800 attack and defense. Well, not defense, but 7,800 attack. And you deal piercing. There's no reason that this guy needs to attack directly. I mean, if you can take care of whatever it is that's a dragon-type monster, boom. They take the damage, and you can probably beat over anything else with like a Dark Magician or something or other like that. You can just attack directly with that. 2,500 damage right there. But, yeah. No. This guy is a monster when you're facing dragons. Number 71, Rebarian Shark. He's just there for defense purposes. And if I still have 2 Magician's Rods on the field. He's more for, like, kicks and giggles. A little bit. But, also, he's there for his effect. So I can get back a number monster other than number 71 Rebarian Shark, obviously. Which is fine with me. I mean, if I really wanted to run more than, you know, one of these, I really wouldn't have a reason to, other than to bring, you know, a second. If I brought back like a second, like Magician's Rod and overlaid with the one that I just normal summon. But yeah, he's there in case I lose like Big Eye. So if I lose Big Eye, then I'll just be like, okay, 71 Rebarian Shark, I drop a material, right? Just one. Yeah, I have to detach a material from this card, choose another, yeah. And then you can attach, one material from this card to that monster. So then I would have like one material on Big Eye, which he only needs 1 material to activate his effect, and I'll steal a monster from the other side of the field. Then he can't attack if he uses his effect, but still, that's fine. I mean, if you're trying to steal monsters and it's like Beals or something, boom, you drop a material off Rebarian, grab Big Eye back, drop that material off Big Eye, boom, you take the Beals, and you're pretty much set for the game, because any damage that you take you know, while you have Beals on your field, then, you know, he gains the attack equal to it. So, number 11 big guy, obvious reasons, stealing your opponent's monsters. You only need 2 level 7s. Doesn't specify, you know, a specific class type, which is great. Red Ice Flare Metal. If you set him up early game, you're going to be super controlling the board, which is amazing. And what I mean amazing, I mean it's amazing because your opponent's just going to keep taking 600 damage. 500 damage. They'll take 500 damage for each and every card effect that they activate during their turn. So it's not just spells and traps. It is every single card effect. So a card or effect. So you have spells, traps, and monster effects. This punishes everything. Absolutely amazing. Especially against spirals or anything that, you know, someone's going into their deck to, you know, special summon, or even just to, like, you know, grab a card from their deck to their hand. 500 for it, you know, and that burn damage starts, you know, building up and whatnot, and pretty soon, you know, just with like 2 effects, you got 1,000 damage right there. If you can just only imagine, you're completely controlling the board at that point if you get, you know, Flare Metal out. So next is Eban High Magician. He's pretty cool. If you detach material, you can activate any trap cards from your hand just by detaching material. So yeah, you can activate a quick play spell or a trap from your hand during your opponent's turn just by detaching material from this card. And then if he's destroyed, and let's see, if he's destroyed by any means, so either by battle or by card effect, he actually replaces himself with another Dark Spellcaster type monster from my hand or from your hand or deck. Then you can destroy 1 card on the field by his last effect. So that alone makes Eban High actually really great for this deck. You kind of don't use his effect, but it's okay. He's got 2,800 defense, so you can just drop him in defense. Boom. Done, pretty much. And he'll just maintain his use. You know, if you want to play like a Magician Navigation from your hand to attach material, boom, do it. You know, during your player's turn as well, if you forgot to set it the previous turn and whatnot. So the final card for the extra deck, and the last card for this entire video, I promise. Eban Illusion Magician. Great card. Still 2 level 7 monsters. You can also, let's see, use Xyz materials. Okay, so you can actually use a rank 6 spellcaster type Xyz monster that you already have, which I wouldn't have any. Also, if you guys know the ruling with like tokens, if you can use them to overlay and special summon a Xyz monster, that'd be great, because there's a couple. Well, I mean, Magi would be one if it actually got brought to TCG. I'm sure that would be a super expensive card if it does make it to TCG finally, but everyone is looking for that card. But Eban Illusion Magician is just great, so you can special summon him either by overlaying 2 level 7s, or if you have, you know, a rank 6 spellcaster type Xyz monster, then you can use that as well. But once per turn, you can detach material from this card, special summon 1 spellcaster type normal monster from your hand or deck. Boom. That's an instant Dark Magician to the field. And also, when a spellcaster type normal monster declares an attack, you can target 1 card your opponent controls, banish it. So, I mean, and the only thing is he doesn't replace himself when he's destroyed, which is okay. I mean, for his effect that he has already, you know, he's already pretty powerful. So that'll be it for this deck profile. Thank you guys for watching, and you know, let me know what you guys think, and have a wonderful